The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday night, the kind of rain that soaks you through in seconds. Rebecca stood behind the counter of the Silver Spoon Diner, watching the clock tick closer to 10. Her feet ached from the double shift, and all she wanted was to get home to her little girl, Lily. It had been one of those days. The kind where tips were thin and customers were demanding. One table had left her $1 on a $40 check. Another had complained about everything from the coffee temperature to the way she'd arranged the silverware. But Rebecca just smiled and nodded because she needed this job. She needed every single dollar. The diner was finally empty, just 15 minutes until closing time. Rebecca had already started wiping down tables when the bell above the door chimed. She looked up, ready to politely tell whoever it was that the kitchen was closed. An older woman stood in the doorway, soaked to the bone. Water dripped from her gray hair onto the checkered floor. Her clothes, though once nice, clung to her thin frame. She looked to be in her 70s, maybe older, and she was shaking. "I'm so sorry," the woman said, her voice trembling. "I know you're about to close. I need to sit down for a moment. Get out of this rain." Rebecca's first thought was about getting home, about Lily, who was waiting with Mrs. Patterson from downstairs, about the babysitting money she'd have to pay, about her own exhaustion that felt like it was seeping into her bones. But then she looked at the woman again. Really looked. And she saw her mother who had passed away 3 years ago, her mother who had once been caught in a rainstorm and got pneumonia because no one had helped her. "Come in," Rebecca said, grabbing a clean towel from behind the counter. "Please, sit anywhere you'd like." The woman's face flooded with relief. She shuffled to a booth near the window and sat down heavily. Rebecca brought her the towel and watched as she tried to dry her face and hands. "Thank you," the woman whispered. "You're very kind." Rebecca went to make a fresh pot of coffee. Sure, it would delay her cleanup, but something about this woman made her want to help. As the coffee brewed, she noticed the woman wasn't carrying a purse. "No bag at all, actually. Would you like some coffee?" Rebecca asked. "It's fresh." "Oh, The woman hesitated, her eyes filling with tears. "I don't have any money with me. I left my bag somewhere. I don't even know where. I was visiting my son and we had an argument and I walked out. I've been walking for hours." Rebecca's heart squeezed. She knew what it felt like to be alone and lost. She knew what it felt like to have nothing. "Don't worry about the money," Rebecca said. She poured a large cup of coffee and brought it to the table. "When's the last time you ate?" The woman shook her head. "This morning, I think." "But please, you don't have to." "Give me just a minute," Rebecca interrupted gently. She went back to the kitchen. The cook had already left, but Rebecca knew her way around. She made a grilled cheese sandwich and heated up some tomato soup. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm and filling. She added some crackers and brought everything to the table. The woman stared at the food, then at Rebecca, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me." Rebecca thought about the question. She thought about all the times she'd been down on her luck. All the times someone had helped her, and all the times no one had. She thought about Lily, and what she'd want her daughter to learn about how to treat people. "Because someone should be," Rebecca said simply. "And today that someone is me." The woman ate slowly, savoring every bite. Rebecca went back to her closing duties, giving her space but keeping an eye on her. When the woman finished, she looked so much better. The color had returned to her cheeks. "What's your name, dear?" the woman asked. "Rebecca. I'm Margaret, and I want you to know that I won't forget this, what you've done for me tonight." "It matters more than you know," Rebecca smiled. "I'm just glad you're okay. Do you have somewhere to go? Someone I can call?" Margaret nodded slowly. "My son. We fought, but he'll be worried by now. Could I possibly use your phone?" Rebecca handed her the diner's phone and busied herself at the other end of the counter to give Margaret privacy. She heard the older woman speaking softly, apologizing to someone. When Margaret hung up, she looked embarrassed. "He's coming to get me. He'll be here in 20 minutes. I'm so sorry to keep you." "It's no problem at all," Rebecca said, and she meant it. They talked while they waited. Margaret asked about Rebecca's life, and Rebecca found herself opening up in a way she rarely did. She told Margaret about Lily, about working 2 jobs, about how hard it was but how much she loved her daughter, about dreams of maybe going back to school someday, though she didn't see how that would ever be possible. Margaret listened with intense focus, asking questions, really caring about the answers. When a car pulled up outside, Margaret stood slowly. "That's my son," she said. "Rebecca, I need you to know something. You didn't just give me a meal tonight. You gave me hope. You reminded me that there's still goodness in this world." Rebecca felt tears prick her eyes. "You take care of yourself, Margaret." Margaret reached out and squeezed Rebecca's hand. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Your kindness will come back to you, dear. I promise you that. Somehow, some way it will." Rebecca walked her to the door and watched as a man in an expensive-looking car got out and wrapped Margaret in a hug. He looked back at Rebecca through the window and nodded his thanks before helping his mother into the car. When they drove away, Rebecca finished closing up the diner. She counted her tips for the day. $73. After paying Mrs. Patterson, she'd have about $40 left. Not great, but it would cover groceries for a few days. As she walked to the bus stop in the rain, her shoes letting in water, Rebecca thought about Margaret's words. Kindness coming back to her. It was a nice thought, but Rebecca had learned not to expect too much from life. She'd done what she did because it was right, not because she expected anything in return. That's just how she was built. When she finally got home, Mrs. Patterson was dozing on the couch. Rebecca paid her and tiptoed into Lily's room. Her daughter was fast asleep, her brown hair spread across the pillow, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Rebecca kissed her forehead softly. "I love you, baby girl," she whispered. She got ready for bed, her body aching with tiredness. Tomorrow she'd wake up at 6 and do it all over again. Another double shift at the diner, then her evening shift at the grocery store. As she lay in the darkness, Rebecca thought briefly about Margaret. She hoped the older woman had made peace with her son. She hoped she was somewhere warm and dry. Then Rebecca closed her eyes and let sleep take her. She had no idea that her life was about to change forever. No idea that her simple act of compassion had set something in motion. Something that would transform everything she thought she knew about her future. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest waves. Sometimes one choice made from the heart can unlock doors you didn't even know existed. But that night, Rebecca knew none of this. She only knew that she'd helped someone who needed help. And for now, that was enough. 3 weeks passed, and Rebecca had almost forgotten about the rainy night and the woman named Margaret. Life had a way of moving forward, each day bleeding into the next. Work, home, Lily, sleep, then repeat. She was folding laundry on a Saturday afternoon, one of her rare days off, when her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Rebecca almost didn't answer. These days, unknown numbers usually meant bill collectors or spam calls about her car's extended warranty. But something made her pick up. "Hello, is this Rebecca Torres?" A professional woman's voice came through the line. "Yes, this is she." Rebecca's heart started beating faster. Unknown calls that used your full name were never good news. "My name is Linda Chen. I'm calling from Harrison & Associates law firm. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" A law firm? Rebecca's mind raced. Had she done something wrong? Was she being sued? She couldn't afford a lawyer. "What's this about?" Rebecca asked carefully. "Nothing to worry about, I assure you," Linda said, and her voice was warm. "This is actually a very positive call. You recently helped an older woman at the Silver Spoon Diner. Her name was Margaret Chen, do you remember?" Rebecca sat down slowly on the couch. "Yes, of course I remember. Is she all right?" "She's wonderful. And she hasn't stopped talking about you. Ms. Torres, Margaret is my mother-in-law. My husband, David Chen, would very much like to meet you, to thank you personally for what you did." Rebecca was confused. "That's really not necessary. I just gave her some food and coffee. Anyone would have done the same." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "That's where you're wrong, Rebecca. May I call you Rebecca?" "Sure. Margaret did this deliberately. She's been going to different places without her wallet, without any identification, to see how people would treat her. You were the first person in 3 months who showed her genuine kindness. The first person who didn't turn her away or treat her like she was invisible." Rebecca felt her throat tighten. She was testing people. "Not in a cruel way," Linda explained. "Margaret has been through a lot recently. Her husband passed away last year, and she's been struggling with the question of whether good people still exist, whether kindness still matters in this world." You gave her an answer. "I just did what felt right," Rebecca said quietly. "Exactly. And that's why David wants to meet you. Would you be willing to have coffee with him? This Tuesday, perhaps? There's a cafe near the law offices on 5th Street. Rebecca hesitated. She'd have to find someone to watch Lily. Tuesday was usually her afternoon shift at the diner. I can make Tuesday work, she heard herself say. What time? Is 2 o'clock good? Yes, that's fine. After they hung up, Rebecca sat staring at the phone. What did this mean? Why would this David Chen want to meet her? Was he going to give her a reward? God, she hoped not. The thought made her uncomfortable. She hadn't helped Margaret for money. Tuesday came too quickly. Rebecca dropped Lily off at her friend Maya's house, grateful that Maya's mom didn't mind watching her for a few hours. She wore her best dress, the navy blue one she'd bought at a thrift store for Lily's kindergarten graduation. She felt out of place as she walked into the upscale cafe on 5th Street. A man in his early 40s sat at a corner table. He wore an expensive suit but had kind eyes. When he saw Rebecca, he stood immediately. Rebecca? He asked, extending his hand. I'm David Chen. His handshake was firm but not aggressive. He gestured for her to sit and immediately asked what she'd like to drink. When the server came over, Rebecca ordered just a coffee. David ordered the same. Thank you for coming, David said once they were alone. I know this must seem strange. A little, Rebecca admitted. But your wife said your mother wanted to thank me. My mother. David smiled, but there was sadness in it. She's been lost since my father died. They were married for 52 years. His death broke something in her. She started questioning everything. Her faith in people, in goodness, in whether anything matters at all. Rebecca listened, her hands wrapped around her warm coffee cup. She started going out without her wallet, David continued. She told me she wanted to see how people would treat her when she had nothing. When she couldn't pay. When she was just an old woman with no value to them. He paused. Most people turned her away. Some were rude. A few were cruel. That's awful, Rebecca said. But then she met you, and you didn't just help her. You went out of your way. You used your own money. You made her food yourself. You waited with her. You talked to her like she mattered. David's eyes were bright. You have no idea what that meant to her. What it still means, Rebecca felt embarrassed. I really didn't do anything special. That's what makes it special, David said. You helped because that's who you are. Not because you expected anything. Not because someone was watching. My mother told me you had tired eyes, that you looked exhausted, but you still chose kindness. The coffee arrived, giving Rebecca a moment to collect herself. When the server left, David leaned forward. Rebecca, I want to be upfront with you about something. I looked into your situation. I hope that doesn't upset you. Rebecca felt a chill. What do you mean? I know you work 2 jobs. I know you're a single mother. I know you're struggling to make ends meet. He held up his hand when she started to speak. Please, hear me out. I'm not saying this to embarrass you. I'm saying this because I want you to know that what you did that night, you gave from a place of having very little. That makes it even more meaningful. Rebecca didn't know what to say. She felt exposed, vulnerable. I run a technology company, David said. Gentech Solutions. We develop software for healthcare systems. We're growing rapidly and I'm always looking for good people. Not just people with impressive resumes, but people with character. People I can trust. Rebecca's heart started pounding. Was he offering her a job? I'd like to offer you a position at my company, David said. Executive assistant to start. Full benefits, health insurance, dental, vision. The salary would be $75,000 a year. Rebecca stared at him. She must have heard wrong. $75,000? She made barely $28,000 between both her jobs. I don't have a college degree, she stammered. I don't have office experience. I've been a waitress for 8 years. I know, David said calmly, and I'm not offering you this job out of pity. I'm offering it because I believe character matters more than credentials. Skills can be taught. Integrity cannot. My assistant just gave notice. She's moving across the country. I need someone reliable, someone honest, someone who treats people with respect, regardless of their position. But I don't know anything about technology or healthcare or... You'll learn, David interrupted gently. I'll make sure you get the training you need. And if after 3 months you hate it or it's not working out, there's no hard feelings. But I think you're going to surprise yourself. Rebecca felt tears burning in her eyes. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Why are you doing this? She whispered. David was quiet for a moment. My father built his business from nothing. He came to this country with $200 and a dream. People helped him along the way. Strangers who didn't have to. He never forgot that. He taught me that success means nothing if you don't lift others up with you. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. This is a formal offer letter. Take it home, read it. Think about it. Talk to your daughter. There's no pressure. But Rebecca, I really hope you'll say yes. Rebecca picked up the envelope with shaking hands. She couldn't speak. Couldn't process what was happening. There's one more thing, David said. My mother would love to see you again. Would you and your daughter like to come to dinner this Sunday? Nothing formal. Just pizza and conversation. Margaret has been asking about you. She has. Every day. She wants to know if you're okay. If you have everything you need. She's worried about you. That broke something loose in Rebecca. A sob escaped before she could stop it. I'm sorry, she gasped. I don't usually. I'm not. It's okay, David said kindly. He handed her a napkin. This is a lot to take in. Rebecca wiped her eyes. She felt like she was in a dream. A good dream, but one she'd wake up from any moment. Can I really think about it? She asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. My number is on the letter. Call me when you're ready. They talked for another 20 minutes. David told her about the company, about the team she'd be working with, about the culture he'd tried to build. He asked about Lily, and his face lit up when Rebecca talked about her daughter. When they finally stood to leave, David shook her hand again. Rebecca, that night in the diner, you saw my mother as a person, not as a problem or an inconvenience, just a person who needed help. That's rare, rarer than you know. Walking back to Maya's house to pick up Lily, Rebecca felt like she was floating. She kept touching the envelope in her purse, making sure it was real. That night, after Lily was asleep, Rebecca read the offer letter 3 times. $75,000 a year. Health insurance that would actually cover doctor visits. Paid vacation. A chance to work normal hours and actually see her daughter. She thought about calling David right then and saying yes. But doubt crept in. What if she failed? What if she wasn't smart enough or fast enough or good enough? What if everyone at the company resented her for getting the job without proper qualifications? What if she let David and Margaret down? Rebecca lay awake most of the night, the offer letter on her nightstand. By morning, she still hadn't decided, but something had shifted inside her. For the first time in years, she felt a tiny spark of hope. The future, which had always seemed like just more of the same struggle, suddenly looked different. Maybe, just maybe, her life was about to change. Rebecca stared at herself in the bathroom mirror Monday morning, her hands gripping the sink. Today was the day. Her first day at Chentech Solutions. She'd said yes to David's offer after that dinner with him and Margaret on Sunday. That dinner had changed everything. Margaret had answered the door herself, pulling Rebecca into a warm hug that smelled like lavender and kindness. Lily had been shy at first, hiding behind Rebecca's leg. But within 10 minutes, Margaret had her giggling over a puzzle at the kitchen table. You don't have to do this, Rebecca had told David quietly while Margaret and Lily played. The job, I mean. You already helped your mom. You don't owe me anything. David had looked at her seriously. Rebecca, I'm not offering you this job because I owe you. I'm offering it because I think you'll be excellent at it. There's a difference. Now, standing in her bathroom at 6 in the morning, Rebecca wasn't so sure. She wore the only professional outfit she owned, a black skirt and white blouse she'd bought yesterday from a discount store. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Mama, you look pretty, Lily said from the doorway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Rebecca turned and smiled, kneeling down to hug her daughter. Thank you, baby. Are you excited to go to Mrs. Patterson's today? Lily nodded. She said we might make cookies. At least that was one worry off Rebecca's mind. Mrs. Patterson had agreed to watch Lily after school until Rebecca got home. The new job paid enough that Rebecca could afford proper childcare, but she'd decided to keep that money aside for now. Just in case this didn't work out, the Chentech Solutions office was in a modern building downtown, all glass and steel. Rebecca felt small walking through the lobby. Everyone looked so polished, so confident. She rode the elevator to the 7th floor, her stomach churning. David met her in the lobby. Good morning, he said warmly. Ready for your first day? I think so, Rebecca managed. He gave her a tour first. The office was open and bright with windows everywhere and plants in every corner. People worked at desks with multiple computer screens. Some sat in glass conference rooms having meetings. A kitchen area had a fancy coffee machine and a fruit bowl. We believe in taking care of our people, David explained. Free coffee, fresh fruit daily, and catered lunch on Fridays. We also have flexible hours. As long as the work gets done, I don't micromanage schedules. Rebecca tried to memorize everything: names, faces, department locations. David introduced her to what felt like 50 people. Most were friendly enough, though she noticed a few raised eyebrows when David explained she'd be his new executive assistant. Her desk was right outside David's office. It had 2 large computer monitors, a comfortable chair, and a small plant that someone had left with a welcome note. "This is from the team," David said, gesturing to a gift basket filled with office supplies, snacks, and a coffee mug that said, "You've got this." "They're a good group. They'll help you settle in." A woman around Rebecca's age approached with a bright smile. "Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work in HR. I'll be helping you get set up today with all your paperwork and computer access." The morning passed in a blur. Rebecca filled out forms, learned the computer systems, and tried not to feel overwhelmed by all the passwords and procedures. Jennifer was patient, walking her through everything step by step. "Don't worry," Jennifer said. "Everyone feels lost their first week. You'll get the hang of it." By lunch, Rebecca's head was spinning. David took her to a nearby sandwich shop, insisting on treating her. "How are you feeling?" he asked once they sat down. "Honestly, terrified," Rebecca admitted. "Everyone here is so smart and educated. I keep thinking someone's going to realize I don't belong." David unwrapped his sandwich thoughtfully. "Can I tell you something? I felt the exact same way when I started this company. Imposter syndrome, they call it. The feeling that you're a fraud and everyone's about to find out. But you're actually qualified," Rebecca said. "Maybe on paper, but running a business? I had no idea what I was doing. I made mistakes, big ones. I hired the wrong people. I trusted the wrong partners. I nearly went bankrupt in year 2. He took a bite, chewed, swallowed. But I learned. That's all any of us are doing, Rebecca. Learning as we go. What if I mess up? Then you'll fix it. And next time you'll do it differently." He smiled. "Rebecca, you managed 2 jobs, raised a daughter alone, kept food on the table and a roof over your heads. You think that doesn't require intelligence and skill? You think that doesn't take incredible strength?" Rebecca hadn't thought of it that way. The afternoon was spent learning her main responsibilities: managing David's calendar, scheduling meetings, handling correspondence, organizing files. It seemed straightforward enough, but Rebecca knew the real challenge would be keeping up with everything. She left at 5, her brain exhausted. Lily chattered about her day over dinner, and Rebecca tried to focus, but her mind kept returning to work. Had she set up that meeting correctly? Did she respond to that email properly? The next few weeks were harder than Rebecca expected. The work itself wasn't too difficult, but the pace was relentless. David had meetings back to back, calls with clients across different time zones, documents that needed reviewing immediately. Rebecca scrambled to keep up. Some of the other employees were kind. Jennifer checked in on her regularly. A man named Robert from the IT department always patiently answered her computer questions, but others were less welcoming. "I heard she was a waitress," Rebecca overheard one woman saying in the break room. "No degree, no experience. Must be nice to have connections." Rebecca's face burned. She grabbed her coffee and left quickly. That night she almost called David to quit. She lay in bed, tears running down her face, feeling like a failure. But then she thought about Lily, about the health insurance that had finally let her take Lily to the dentist, about not having to work 2 jobs, about actually being home for dinner. She couldn't give up. Not yet. Rebecca started arriving at 7 instead of 8. She stayed until 6. She took work home, studying how everything was organized, memorizing processes. She watched how other assistants worked, learning from them. Slowly, painfully, she got better. 2 months in, something shifted. Rebecca scheduled a major client meeting, coordinating 5 people across 3 time zones, arranging catering, preparing all the materials David needed. The meeting went perfectly. Afterward, David stopped by her desk. "That was seamless," he said. "Great work, Rebecca." She felt a warm glow of pride. Maybe she could do this after all. The breakthrough came during a crisis. David's biggest client, a hospital system in Seattle, threatened to cancel their contract. There had been a miscommunication about a software update, and the client was furious. David was in back-to-back meetings all day and couldn't handle it personally. "Rebecca," he said, rushing past her desk. "I need you to call Pacific Medical. The contact is Dr. Harrison. Apologize for the confusion, assure them we're on it, and schedule a call with me for first thing tomorrow morning. Can you handle that?" Rebecca's heart pounded. This wasn't her job. She was just supposed to schedule meetings, not manage client relationships. But David was looking at her with trust in his eyes. "I've got it," she said. She called Dr. Harrison. The doctor was angry, speaking quickly and using technical terms Rebecca didn't fully understand. But Rebecca listened. Really listened. She didn't make excuses. She acknowledged the doctor's frustration. She apologized sincerely, and she promised David would make it right. "I understand this has disrupted your hospital's operations," Rebecca said. "I'm a single mom. When my daughter's school messes up her schedule or forgets something important, I know how frustrating that feels. You're trusting us with something critical, and we let you down. That's not acceptable." There was a pause. "You have a daughter?" Dr. Harrison's voice softened slightly. "Yes, ma'am. She's 7. "I have 3 kids," Dr. Harrison said. "And you're right. This is about trust. We're relying on this system for patient care." "I know. And Mr. Chen will fix this. He's the most dedicated person I've ever met. Can we set up a call with you tomorrow morning? He'll have solutions ready." By the end of the conversation, Dr. Harrison had calmed down. She agreed to the call. When Rebecca told David, he looked stunned. "You saved that account," he said. "How did you do it?" "I just treated her like a person," Rebecca said. "Not like a problem," David smiled slowly. "That's exactly right." Word spread through the office. Rebecca had handled the Pacific Medical situation. The woman from the break room, the one who'd called her a waitress with contempt, started treating her differently. More respectfully, but more importantly, Rebecca started believing in herself. She realized she did have skills. Maybe they weren't from a university, but they were real. She knew how to read people, how to communicate, how to work hard, how to care. 3 months in, David called her into his office. Rebecca's stomach dropped. This was it. The trial period was over. He was going to let her go. "Sit down," David said. Rebecca sat, her hands clasped in her lap. "Rebecca, I've been impressed with your work. More than impressed, actually. You've exceeded every expectation." He leaned back in his chair. "I'm not just saying this. You've become essential to this company. The team respects you. Clients like working with you. You've taken initiative in ways I didn't expect." Rebecca felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you. This job has changed my life. I want to talk about your future here," David continued. "I think you have potential beyond being an executive assistant. Have you ever thought about operations management?" "I don't even know what that means," Rebecca admitted. David smiled. "It means overseeing how things run, making sure all the parts of the company work together smoothly. You're already doing it informally. You've reorganized my entire calendar system. You've improved how we communicate with clients. You solved that supply chain issue with our hardware vendor last week." "I just made a phone call," Rebecca said. "You made the right phone call. You saw a problem and fixed it." He pulled out a folder. "I'd like to sponsor your enrollment in a business management program. Online, so you can do it at your own pace. And I'd like to move you into a junior operations role. More responsibility, more pay, and a chance to really grow here." Rebecca couldn't speak. 6 months ago, she'd been serving coffee at a diner. Now she was being offered a path to a real career. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. "I know you can," David said firmly. "Rebecca, you've already proven yourself. Now it's time to believe in yourself the way others believe in you." That night, Rebecca sat with Lily on the couch reading her a bedtime story. She thought about the journey from that rainy night to this moment. How one choice, one act of kindness had unlocked possibilities she'd never imagined. But she also realized something else. The kindness hadn't just been about Margaret. It had been about Rebecca, too. About her learning to be kind to herself. To believe she deserved good things. To trust that she was capable of more. She kissed Lily's forehead as her daughter drifted off to sleep. Tomorrow she'd tell David yes. She'd take the risk. She'd keep growing. Because if life had taught her anything, it was that sometimes the biggest act of kindness you can offer is to yourself. 2 years felt like a lifetime and a blink at the same time. Rebecca sat in her new office, not a cubicle, but an actual office with a door and a window, and sometimes still couldn't believe this was her life. Operations manager. The title still felt too big for her. But then she'd look at the framed photo on her desk, Lily at her second grade graduation beaming with pride, and remember why she kept pushing forward. The business management program had been brutal. Most nights after Lily went to bed, Rebecca sat at her laptop until midnight, working through courses on supply chain management, financial analysis, organizational behavior. There were nights she cried from exhaustion, nights she almost gave up, but Margaret had become her unexpected cheerleader. The older woman called every Sunday, asking about her classes, encouraging her to keep going. Sometimes she'd come over with dinner, giving Rebecca a few extra hours to study. Lily had started calling her Grandma Margaret, and Margaret's face would light up every time. "You remind me of myself when I was young," Margaret told Rebecca one evening, helping wash dishes while Lily did homework at the kitchen table. "I came to this country with nothing. I worked in a garment factory, took English classes at night. People said I'd never amount to anything. But you did," Rebecca said, "because I refused to believe them, just like you're doing." Margaret handed her a clean plate. "You know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who understands that success isn't about where you start. It's about refusing to give up." Those words carried Rebecca through the hardest moments, when she failed a test and had to retake it, when a project at work went wrong and she had to present the failure to the entire leadership team, when other managers questioned her decisions because she didn't have the background. David had her back every time. But he also pushed her to stand on her own. "Stop apologizing for not having an MBA from Stanford," he told her one day after she'd prefaced a presentation with excuses about her lack of formal education. "You've earned your place here. Own it." So she did, slowly at first, then with more confidence. When someone questioned her analysis, she backed it up with data. When someone dismissed her idea, she built a pilot program and proved it worked. When someone tried to talk over her in meetings, she learned to speak louder and hold her ground. The department she managed had grown from 5 people to 15. Rebecca had hired most of them herself, and she'd built a team that worked like a well-oiled machine. They streamlined the company's procurement process, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. They implemented new project management software that improved efficiency by 30%. They fixed problems before David even knew they existed, but success brought new challenges. The higher Rebecca climbed, the lonelier it got. Some of her old friends from the diner had stopped calling, unable to relate to her new life. At work, she wasn't quite management, but wasn't quite regular staff either. She existed in this strange in-between space. And then there was the guilt. Guilt that Lily spent so much time with sitters and at after-school programs. Guilt that Rebecca sometimes missed class parties or field trips because of work meetings. Guilt that she was so tired on weekends that all she wanted to do was sleep. "Mama, do you have to work late again?" Lily asked one Thursday evening, her voice small. Rebecca's heart cracked. She'd already missed 3 dinners that week because of a major project deadline. "I'm sorry, baby. Just 2 more days and this big project will be done. Then we'll have a special weekend, okay? Just you and me." "You always say that," Lily said quietly. Then more quietly still, "I miss you." Those 3 words haunted Rebecca. That night she lay awake wondering if she was trading one kind of struggle for another. She had money now, security, a career, but was she losing her daughter in the process? The next morning she walked into David's office. "I need to talk to you about my schedule." He looked up from his computer. "Is everything okay?" "No, yes, I don't know." Rebecca sat down. "I'm struggling to balance everything. Lily needs me more. I feel like I'm failing as a mother." David listened as she explained. The missed dinners, the rushed mornings, the constant exhaustion. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. "You know what I remember about my father?" he finally said. "He worked constantly when I was young, building the business, trying to provide for us. I rarely saw him. I resented it for years." Rebecca's heart sank. That's what she was afraid of. "But then I got older," David continued, "and I understood something. He wasn't just working for money. He was showing me what dedication looked like, what it meant to build something, to push through when things got hard. He was teaching me through his actions that we were capable of more than we thought." "But Lily misses me," Rebecca said. "I know, and that matters. Here's what I learned when Linda and I had our daughter." David pulled out his phone and showed Rebecca a picture of a little girl around Lily's age. "It's not about the quantity of time. It's about the quality. When you're with Lily, are you really present? Or are you distracted thinking about work? Rebecca thought about it honestly. Probably distracted. Then that's what needs to change. Not necessarily your hours, though we can adjust those if needed, but your presence when you're with her. He leaned forward. Rebecca, you're teaching your daughter something incredible right now. You're showing her that women can build careers, that hard work matters, that we can rise above our circumstances. But you also need to show her that she matters more than any job. How do I do both? By being intentional, by setting boundaries, by making the time you have with her count. He smiled. Take Friday afternoons off. Starting today. Leave at 2, pick Lily up from school yourself, and spend the afternoon together. You've earned the flexibility. Rebecca felt tears coming. I can do that? You're management now. You set your own schedule as long as the work gets done. And Rebecca, your work is excellent. You've more than earned some flexibility. That Friday, Rebecca left at 2. She picked up Lily from school and her daughter's face lit up like Christmas morning. You came, Lily squealed, running into her arms. I'm going to come every Friday from now on, Rebecca said. What should we do today? They went to the park. They got ice cream. They sat on a bench and talked about everything and nothing. Rebecca turned off her phone. She didn't check emails. She was just present, fully there with her daughter. Mama, Lily said, chocolate ice cream on her nose, are you happy now? At your new job? Rebecca thought about the question. Was she happy? You know what, baby, I am. It's hard sometimes and I get stressed. But I like what I do. I like helping make things work better. I like being good at something. I'm proud of you, Lily said seriously. You're the smartest mama ever. Rebecca hugged her tight, blinking back tears. This was what mattered. The years continued to unfold. Rebecca completed her business management program, graduating with honors. David promoted her to senior operations manager, overseeing the entire Western region. The title came with a salary that once would have seemed impossible. She bought a house. Not a big house, but a real house with a yard where Lily could play. It had 3 bedrooms, one for each of them and one for guests. When they moved in, Margaret came over with a housewarming gift, a beautiful potted plant. Every home needs something growing in it, Margaret said. Something that reminds you that with care and attention, beautiful things flourish. Rebecca placed it in the kitchen window where she could see it every morning. Work challenges kept coming. A major client threatened to leave. A key team member quit unexpectedly. Budget cuts forced her to make difficult decisions about staff. But Rebecca had learned to handle pressure. She'd learned that she was stronger than she thought. She'd also learned something else, how to pay it forward. When a young intern named Patricia started at the company, fresh out of community college with no experience and obvious imposter syndrome, Rebecca took her under her wing. She saw herself in Patricia's nervous energy, in the way she apologized for asking questions. Stop saying sorry for learning, Rebecca told her. Questions are how we grow. She mentored Patricia the way David had mentored her. She gave her challenging projects with support. She advocated for her in meetings. She taught her to trust her own intelligence. A few months later, Rebecca started something new. She approached David with an idea, a program to hire and train people from non-traditional backgrounds, people without degrees or fancy connections, people like she'd been. We're missing out on incredible talent, Rebecca told the leadership team during her presentation. There are people working 2 jobs, raising kids alone, fighting every day just to survive. Those people have skills we need. Resilience, problem solving, the ability to work under pressure. We just need to give them a chance. The program started small, 5 positions in the first year. Rebecca personally interviewed every candidate. She looked for what David had seen in her: character, work ethic, potential. Not everyone succeeded. One person couldn't handle the transition and quit after 2 months. But 3 others thrived. They brought fresh perspectives, creative solutions, and a hunger to prove themselves.